I want you to look at that. Look at it. You know what that is. That is a pop filter in front of a microphone, a very fancy microphone. So fancy, in fact, you have to plug it in 2 different places on your computer to make it work. Namely, a USB for power and the microphone port, obviously, for microphoning. It's even got a built-in echo effect. But I'm not going to play with it just now, because then I would have to reach up here and do a twiddle, and then you'd look at me twiddling my knobs, and, well, that's not something you do outside your OnlyFans, right? Right. So, what I'm going to do with this microphone and its new extendable sort of spring-loaded, I can almost remember the word I'm looking for, but I've forgotten what it is. It's one of those extendable arms, angle poise style clamp lamp, except it's a microphone. Just so you know, that's why my voice sounds so much better, even though my voice is absolutely horrible, even though I don't like listening to it. Years ago, in Second Life, I used to do live readings of stories. You know, at first I started with James Thurber and short stories and things like that, and then I ended up reading the entirety of a lovely tale called The Tale of the Land of Green Ginger, which was quite fun. I also read quite a few of the original Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is something I'm never going to do again, because, of course, when Shazarada was telling those stories, she was telling stories to save her life. She had to tell stories all night, so that nutcase Sultan, basically what had happened, he married a wife, and found the wife being unfaithful with one of the more well-endowed servants, which says something about his appearance and ability. And he had her killed. And then decided that because you couldn't trust women, did I mention these other Tales of the Arabian Nights? There's quite a lot of misogyny running around in that. He would wed his wife and then kill her after the wedding, in order to make sure she stayed faithful. Twat. But I digress. I'm never going to read those again, because towards the end she was basically recycling the same stories over and over, but one of the witnesses involved, and there were always multiple witnesses, would bring in multiple sages, teachers, wise men, constables, and they would have a story to tell, and it just went on and on and on. I think one story ended up taking about 2 months to read in its entirety. I think everybody was as fed up with it as I was. And that was just for an hour's reading. I also incidentally read Michael Crichton's The Great Train Robbery, but I'm not going to bore you with that. What I am going to do with this thing is reread those, so that I've actually got proper and decent recordings, because when I started I was using a crappy Dick Smith microphone that was as floppy as an old piece of celery. Not to mention it was completely analog, and it picked up far too much background noise. Unlike this microphone, I've just been testing it. I tested it with Ableton, so that if I'm talking over something that I'm making in Ableton, it's not going to be feeding back like the built-in microphone on this laptop does. And speaking of Ableton, I'm going to just change the scene here. Ain't that lovely? So I'll just load up what I've been doing for the last 3 days. Open recent set. There we go. Eventually. Now, I recently picked up the freeware OBDX, which is, there it is, OBXD, sorry, which is a freeware version of the Oberheim synthesizer, but it's emulated. And I've been working on an idea for Send, which comes to, well, as you can see here, it comes to ADGD. And it actually sounds quite interesting. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to unplug this. so that I can hear it and then talk all over it for you. Just a minute. I stole a stereo system from work. It's okay. It's pretty crappy. Listen to that. I think the cable is crappy too. Anyway, what it sounds like is a bit like this. So I'm just going to solo out everything. So we start with hear that? So what we've got is a trap beat, and on top of that is a loop of an African instrument called the udu. That's that slightly hollow sounding sound in the background. Sounds pretty neat, doesn't it? And then I just pulled up my Akai keyboard, and it ended up something like this. Nice and slow, huh? And then I went back to the Akai, and not as a second instrument. Originally it was just going to be a variation on this sort of bass line thing. So we got a bit of call and response going, obviously. I might have a closer look at what I've done there. Now the reason it says Grace on that waveform, and this is as far as I've got, by the way, I'm going to have to expand this out, is because originally I set up track 2 using the Grace sampler, but I've got a lot of work to do to get my sample banks working again. But of course, it's a bit weak, isn't it? It's a bit wimpy. So what I'll do is turn everything on. I was also getting very influenced by 808 State and Orbital, for that matter, but Meat. So we've got another OBXD. This is actually the one that's active at the moment, and if you look at it, there's the OBXD, and there's a filter on it. There's a reason for that. Ooh, listen to that pad. And that's why I've got the filter on. Now, what I can probably do to vary things is actually turn that filter on and off, or even vary its palms a bit. So what I need to do now is create a loop B, and then start thinking about ways to transition between the two. But as I was doing this, I'm going to try and find one of my user library. That's what I want. Samples. That's what I want. My samples. Now, I am looking for a particular one that I actually made yesterday after quite a bit of digging, and I will find it. There it is. That's the one I want.
Tomorrow is the last day to send your dollar. Tomorrow is the last...
Ah, shut up. So I'm going to drop that there, and I can't change the volume, but I will certainly drop it down a bit to... There we go. Right, so we've got this here, and there's no effects, but we'll listen to it.
Tomorrow is the last day to send your dollar.
I've got an idea. I want audio effects. And and I want a bit of delay. Actually, I want a lot of delay. Not bad, huh? This sample, incidentally, is from the episode. Which one is it? It was called The Big Grifter, so it's episode 37. Oops. Well, you get the idea. So, as I say, there are at least, there are several things that I need to do. Now, number one, I've got to create a verse B. And I say just a verse B, because the big thing I do is I'm trying to simplify from, say, what Mike Monday has been offering. Sorry. Mike, in his Turbo Track Attack, talks about making 4 loops and then bolting them together in a particular fashion. I'm a bit more simple-minded than that. I'm not quite sure what's going on up here, but it doesn't work very well, so I try to make 2. I'm influenced by 808 State's Sexy Dancer. Listen to that and you'll realize that there's basically 2 major sections in there. There's the bit that's got what sounds like a funk guitar and male vocal sample, and the other one is a sort of mostly male choral voice and a swirly synthesizer thing. And everything else is sort of breaks and fills in between the 2. Same with Orbital's Are We Here? As I was listening to this, I started thinking about Orbital's Are We Here? And then I sat down and I listened to Orbital's Are We Here? In particular, the official video, which it's about 5 minutes long. Apparently, the album version is supposed to be 15 minutes long, sort of like The Box and Out There Somewhere, which was so long on their album Insides that the poor buggers had to cut it in 2. Hey, not my problem. Anywho, that's what I've got to work on. So I've been poking at this for the last 3 days in a row, which is probably the longest chain I've had in a long time. I'm not going to try and break it, so I'm going to finish recording, export this video, and get on with it. So I've got one more thing that's drafted out, and then I can get on with stuff. With regards to my body and soul project, remember we're talking about 11 tracks here. That's all 8 fingers, 2 thumbs and my nose. I've got body basically done, bony basically done, seed basically done, and I'm very close to doing bond. I just need to use this thing when nobody is around within earshot so that I can sing some vocals into it. In fact, I might do it twice, because one of the things I've got is this really old microcassette dictaphone. That could produce an interesting, shall we say, effect? Well, we've got to find that out. My finger hovers over the button for stop recording. This is the Cranky Rabbit, signing